I can see
I
the
am.
screen. Okay.
I'm recording.
Okay, great.
All right. I was asked to talk about research at the School of Agriculture. And so I want to talk a little bit about the School of Agriculture and where we're at today. And I've got about 10 slides to visit with. But my name is Dennis Fennewald. I'm an associate professor. I teach animal science classes. I advise pre-vet and animal science students. This is a couple of pictures out at the farm. We have some sheep and some cattle and some pigs. And so this is just a few pictures taken here in the last couple of years. We've got several concentrations. People get a degree in agriculture and they pick a concentration. And so it might be pre-vet, animal science, ag business, etc. And so each of those provide a core class, and all of our students take Intro to Animal Science, Economics of Ag, the Plant Science and Soil Science class, and then they take one of two ag engineering classes, ag engineering technology or natural resource systems. You'll see in the lower left-hand side, there's a class called, or a curriculum called Ag Science and Management. And that is like interdisciplinary studies with an ag focus. So it allows the students to build their own curriculum, of course, meeting the requirements of Tennessee Tech, but they can build it. And most of our students today are doing animal science and ag business as the two areas that they focus on. One of the reasons we built that was because we put several people in the poultry industry, and they were telling us that your animal science students need more ag business classes and your ag business students need more animal science. So we still have this at 120 credit hours, but it allows them to take a good variety of animal science as well as a good variety of ag business classes to kind of meet the needs of that that part of in the poultry industry, as well as other industries as well. We've also got clubs that go with each of these, and so our students can do networking and learn more about their interest, whether it's the pre-vet club. Block and Bridle is kind of an animal science group. The poultry club, of course, focuses on poultry science. And so each of these have a club that they can be a part of. And then we've got here on the right-hand side, different clubs that you've got to be invited in essentially, or at least it has some sort of requirements to be into that. And we've got an ag council where one person from each club is part of that. We've got a sorority, a fraternity, and then a National Honor Society. And that Delta Chi Alpha, you have to be invited to be in that group. And so we've got an active DTA group as well. Out at the farm, maybe some of you have been out to Heidelberg's and have been out to the university farm. We've got about 100 mama cows out there, plus their calves. And those are, we also have a bull sale. So some of the bull calves that are born, we raise them and develop them and sell them to commercial cattlemen in this area. We also have some sheep. The sheep that we raise are a hair sheep, and so they don't produce wool. And so that's one of the expenses we avoid, which is shearing sheep, but then we also don't have the income. Sometimes the income from wool will cover the shearing, sometimes it doesn't, but the fastest growing sheep breeds in the United States are two different hair breeds. And so we own one of those hair breeds, and we're a member of that breed association. We also have a few swine. This used to be a major area for swine production. No longer is that way, but we still keep some sows because that gives us some hands-on opportunities for our students. You know, a cow kind of has one calf per year. The sheep can have, typically they'll have about 150% lamb crop. So some have twins, some have singles. We lamb 3 times in 2 years, so we get a fair number of lambs. And with those sows having litters, then that gives us more hands-on opportunities for our students. In fact, one of those is we have a sheep show, and you can see one of the young ladies who was in our sheep show last fall. I teach a class called Livestock Management, and one of the things we do is try to get as much hands-on as possible. And so one of the ways we do that is to have this sheep show. They will clip them, wash them, and prepare them for a show, and we have a little show one day. And so that's really nice for the students to increase their hands-on opportunities. We've got an ag engineering technology shop that we just completed in January. So that's a new addition to our ag engineering folks. We are building a poultry research house. This will be the 4th species that we have. They started breaking ground about February 15th, but as you can imagine, things have been pretty slow in terms of moving dirt right now. We've also got a horticulture area. It's been around for a while. We're trying to get some of it replaced because it's fully depreciated, as I would say. And then we've got not only the farm, which is located about 2.5 miles from the Hoop, that's the university farm, but there's one up at Livingston that we call the Oakley farm. And Millard Oakley gave us some cows and the use of that land, and he's helped fund some things like some hydroponic tomatoes. So we have a pretty substantial greenhouses of hydroponic tomatoes, and there's some other things, other vegetables that are grown up in that area as well. We also have about 350 beef cows plus their calves. And so that is a herd that's under current, it's evolving. There's some things that went on that we needed to address in terms of making this cow herd a little bit more modern and up to date. And so we're in the process of that as well. There's also been a nonprofit that came to that area, to that farm. It's called Sustainable Mountain Ag Center. And that is run by Dr. Best, as is the hydroponic tomatoes. And Dr. Best is our ag business professor, one of the ones that we have. And what they do is they actually grow heirloom varieties of vegetables. And in about October, they do a seed swap here in the eastern part of the United States. So people out of Kentucky, Virginia, Tennessee, for example, will come and swap seeds with each other on heirloom varieties of vegetables. And so that's a nonprofit that's available. They kind of make enough money to sustain themselves, so to speak. But that is some of the things going on at Oakley Farm. A couple years ago, we had a Tennessee Leadership Summit. We invited about 100 juniors and senior high school students in, and here's some of the leaders that we had at that summit. It was Monday through Friday. It was very well received. It was very successful. Unfortunately, due to COVID in 2020, we didn't do that. I think they're going to try to do it again here in 2021, probably on a limited scale. But a lot of people talked about how good that was, and that's one of our methods of reaching out to high school students. This is a picture of Heidelbergs in the background, and these are 2 of our ag engineering students with a tripod out there doing our little photo op when we got a picture for our brochure. So we create our own brochure for the high school students to help recruit and that sort of thing. Heidelbergs is pretty substantial. If you haven't seen it, there's a big show arena. There's a big sales arena. I do clinics out there with the help of my ag faculty colleagues. And what we do is we'll bring in high school students to do horse judging or livestock judging, poultry judging, parliamentary procedure, various things like that. And what it does is we've been averaging about 450 FFA students each time we do this, and we do one in the spring and one in the fall. So that's kind of a recruiting event for us. They pay us $20. We give them a t-shirt and feed them a couple slices of pizza. That t-shirt says Tennessee Tech University on it. And I forgot now how many, but I want to say it's something like 4,000 or 5,000 t-shirts we have put out. So there's lots of t-shirts out. Like I tell the high school students, you have to keep coming, collect the whole set. And so we've had students come both spring and fall for several semesters. We've got this is some pictures up at Oakley Farm. These are just part of the greenhouses that we have. It's an older picture. Those were tomatoes grown in the ground. Here on the right-hand side, you see actually the hydroponic system. And that's a more recent photo of what's going on inside those greenhouses. The greenhouses that you see there is less than half of the square footage we currently have. Again, it's just an older photo that I happen to have. In terms of research, we're getting some new faculty new faculty are here, and here's some of the interests they have. We haven't done much research because research has not been our focus. We've always considered ourselves a teaching facility and trying to get hands-on and trying to get these students careers. However, recently we've become part of the environmental studies, and so we're part of that PhD program. We're wanting to start our own master's program here at the School of Agriculture. And so the buzzword in agriculture today, it used to be organic or sustainable, but now the buzzword is regenerative agriculture. And if you research that a little bit, that is the hot topic in ag today. And so one of those some of the research that we might look at is precision agriculture. You see the drone here over top the cornfield. But another big part is residual feed intake. And we don't have this system, but we're looking to buy this. And it's not only for cattle, but also for sheep. And what this does is each cow has a RFID tag. They eat out of the bunk individually. There is a RFID reader that reads that tag, which calf is eating out of that bunk, and it will record how much feed each calf eats every time it eats. And so basically we can record by the gram how much each animal eats. The test takes about 80 days to do the test to get the data that we need. And what it does is it allows us to find animals that either grow faster than expected, given the amount of feed that it ate, or it ate less than we expected, given the growth that that animal had. So in other words, we're trying to save feed. We're trying to improve feed efficiency. And so that's been done easily or pretty substantially in the swine and poultry industry. And now this is moving into ruminants, which is much harder to get our hands around. But this technology has been around for a couple of decades, and this is an area that we'd like to move into. Certainly the cows that you see grazing, forage management is pretty critical in Tennessee. We get lots of rain, we can grow lots of forage. And so our ability to convert a feedstuffs that you and I can't eat into a high quality protein that we can eat is an important goal that we have. So some grazing research, residual feed intake or feed efficiency research, and then some things on the crop side in terms of precision agriculture is kind of our focus. So that's where our faculty are going. We really don't have research in these areas yet. We've done a little bit on tomatoes because we had the facilities. We've done a little bit on other vegetables because we've had the facilities, but we're trying to improve our facilities. Technology is expensive. So if we're going to be the technology school, it takes a lot of money to get these things done. Certainly the grazing part is not high technology per se, but like these feed bunks that you see in front of you, that's a substantial investment, hundreds of thousands of dollars to put together a system that we can use. And so that obviously takes a lot more effort to find the money to accomplish those things. Drones are not terribly expensive, but certainly this is an area that we're starting to get into, but we haven't yet. So with that, that kind of gives you a little bit of where we're going from a research standpoint. Again, we're trying to develop a master's program and be involved in a PhD program. And this regenerative agriculture is kind of this guiding vision as to where we're going. So with that, that's the end of my slide presentation. I'd be happy to take a few questions. Hopefully I can answer some things, and hopefully that shows kind of what the School of Agriculture is doing over here at the college.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fennewald. Well, I guess we'll open up to any questions. Does anyone have any questions for Dr. Fennewald regarding the School of Agriculture or research or anything that he has mentioned or maybe not mentioned in this presentation?
I can break the ice since I said I could have a cow in the back of my yard. I know cows are really, really, really valuable. What happens, and I hope it doesn't happen often, but what happens when you lose a cow and And what's, how do you handle the economic impact for your program for Tennessee Tech if you lose an animal, or if you feel threatened by, I don't know, hoof and mouth disease, which thank God we haven't had.
Yeah,
Country recently.
So the way we handle things is we actually compost, at least over here at the university farm. We've got a compost pile, and we can bury these animals, compost them is what we're doing. Certainly there's an economic impact when you lose an animal. I'll give this, a lot of people talk about sheep and, oh, sheep just want to die, right? They were born to die. Well, the reality is as we improve our management of sheep, we really don't have that big of a problem with sheep dying. Obviously, it still happens. But what we're trying to do is also have people understand it's really emotionally devastating when you have 5 sheep and you've named 5 sheep, right? It's kind of like your dog or your cat. So we have 50 ewes and they have lots of lambs. And so the point is when you lose one, it doesn't hurt you quite so much because you didn't name all those sheep, right? And it's just one of those things we really realize we're trying to give them the best life that we can. They have one bad day in their life, and then we're going to have a good meal, right? And so lamb, beef, swine, all of this is food animals. We're trying to give them the best life that we can while they're under our care. Hopefully they don't die. Periodically they do. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, a friend of mine just took her picture on Facebook with a 1-day-old goat, and 1 day later that goat was dead, and we were all kind of devastated because we were like, oh, it's so cute.
Right.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, it's tough. Thank you.
You bet. And one thing I didn't add, Kester, and let me add this. Recently, Bill Gates, for example, came out and said, developed countries should be eating veggie burgers or lab grown meat. And what that ignores is the positive things ruminants can do from an environmental standpoint. So if we're good at managing our land, we can use ruminants to accomplish some very positive things. Obviously, if we're not good, we can actually do detriment to the ecology and to our environment. So our goal is to actually teach people how to manage livestock to benefit the land. And if we can't do that, then it kind of, that's hurting our argument as to why we need to have livestock. But the other parts of this is not only do we get meat from these livestock, but we get leather and we get other byproducts that are really going to be very difficult to replace if we don't have those animals to serve us. So, that's very much a key. We talk about all the positive things that the livestock can do, but there's obviously there's some negative things that can happen, and we have to figure out how to be more sustainable in how we produce food.
Well, that's an excellent point, because all people talk about is the methane that cows produce, but I never thought of that. I'm going to use that as an argument.
And so beyond the cattle sequestering carbon, for example, because of proper grazing techniques, that residual feed intake and that getting individual feed intake of those cattle, the less they consume, the less methane they're going to produce, right? And the methane actually breaks down. Basically, that methane goes up in the air. Within about 10 or 12 years, that methane breaks down. It goes into a cycle. We get some CO2. CO2 is plant food, right? So we grow more plants and the cattle eat those plants. There's methane that is produced as as a byproduct of breaking down that cellulose in their rumen. And so this process continues, the cycle continues. We can reduce methane to a certain extent, but one of the things that really improves efficiencies is those cattle tend to grow faster on less feed compared to some cattle maybe in some other parts of the world. So they're more feed efficient. In addition, if we have animals that have litters, the larger the litter, then the more efficient they are because they're producing more with less. And that's what we're doing from that standpoint. Now, there's different production models. Some people are very much into the grass-based models. perfectly good with that. Others are more into a high input, high output model. That's fine. Again, are we improving the environment overall? Are we all moving in the same direction? That's important. Other parts of this just gets to be marketing, but we can improve the environment in a variety of ways.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Fennewald. So I have another question for you. I know Dr. Blair and I always like to ask about the stories behind, people. So we were curious about, your experience with animal science. Like, did you grow up on a farm, like, or in a rural area? Like, how did you get to, being a professor here at Tennessee Tech, teaching animal science and agriculture and livestock to, future generations?
Yeah, so I grew up on a farm in central Missouri. When I was 6, my dad had me go out to help my brother milk the one dairy cow that we had. When I was 8, he said, now you're big enough to milk that cow by yourself. So from the time I was 8 till I was 18, I milked the dairy cow morning and night to provide milk for my family, right? We had about 100 sows. We have a farrow to finish operation. So we would do everything from breeding the sows to feeding them to marketing the market hogs, the animals that went then to a processing plant. We had about 100 cows. We had about 80 sheep. We had some we had some horses. Usually had 5 to 10 horses on the place. I remember 2 summers that I actually raked hay with horses. No, we're not Amish, but my dad really liked horses. So I grew up with a variety of livestock. And went to the University of Missouri for a bachelor's degree, later went there for the PhD in genetics. And after I got my degree in my PhD at Missouri, I came here to teach, and I've been here since August of 12. So now just 8.5 years, I've been here at Tennessee Tech teaching as a professor. So my background is pretty diversified. And in fact, probably the thing that I know the least about is horses. And really, I teach about beef cattle, sheep, goats, and poultry. I do talk some about dairy cows in certain classes, but that's basically what my background is and what I'm doing.
Great. Thank you so much. And another question, since you've been here for the past 8 years, what are some of the challenges that the School of Agriculture has faced, I guess marketing wise or getting yourselves out there, since, tech is really boast it's like 25% of the students are engineering majors. So with the College of Agriculture and Human Ecology being one of the smaller, colleges on campus, what are some of the challenges you face and how have you overcome them?
In 1915, when Tennessee Tech, under a different name, started, there was basically human ecology, agriculture, and mechanical engineering. Obviously, human ecology and agriculture are now minor parts of Tennessee Tech. Engineering grew tremendously. I think here's a couple of the challenges we face today. In terms of marketing ourselves, there are 4 other major ag schools in this state: UT Knoxville, MTSU, TSU at Nashville, UT Martin, and even Austin Peay have ag programs. So there's a lot of ag programs chasing a limited number of students, so to speak. That's why we started the clinic several years ago, was to get more people to come to tech. From a impact standpoint, we'd like to believe that we're pretty important, because it turns out 100% of all people eat. So we think we're important from that standpoint. One of the challenges we have is we're not the land grant. And so we don't have near as much resources as, say, UT Knoxville. We do have some benefit in terms of being in the central part of the state. We do have a gorgeous campus. We do live in a wonderful town of Cookeville. So we have those things going for us, but we tend to, we're not a big program, at least compared to UT Knoxville. We're a cheaper program. That's been good. We've promoted ourselves as being very friendly. We know our students by name. And we do an awfully good job of retention. Those are all very positive things. One of the negative things that we hear, we don't hear it just from students, but we also hear it from other people in the state. Like there's people who think, well, because Tennessee Tech is a technology school, School of Ag is a technology school. Well, technology costs a lot of money, and it's hard for us to keep up on that when we're not a land grant. That perception of us being a technology school and School of Ag has been a little bit challenging. So, at one level, people think, well, these are these elite people who are high technology and a bunch of engineers at the School of Ag. Well, that's not the case at all. I spend a significant part of my day when I'm talking about management of livestock. We actually talk about grazing, and that is a really low tech as you can get, and it's quite effective without having significant technology outputs, right? We don't have to buy lots of stuff to make that work. That's more mental than it is from a physical standpoint. And it's extremely important, yet people on the outside still think, well, it's Tennessee Tech. So people there are kind of these, really nerds. They're nerds related to engineering, right? And that's not the case at all. And of course, if you think about the university as a whole, it's not just engineering. We've got a great nursing and business and fine arts and biology. I mean, there's lots of great programs here, not just engineering. And that's something we have to overcome. And usually when people come and we get a chance to talk to them, we can convince them that this is a great place to go to school.
Right. Definitely. And I know that we're very grateful, all of us here at Tennessee Tech for sure, and that we have wonderful faculty like you here. And I do have another question for you. Since as you've met a lot of students who, both incoming, potential, current students who come from especially a variety of areas from, rural to what are some of the, I guess, like, how do I work? So like, for example, where I come from, UT Martin and Murray State are the two schools that often draw the most students,
right,
because they're close. A lot of students, they're 30 minutes away, both have exceptional ag programs, maybe not as great as Tennessee Tech, but, and so a lot of students want to, stay within that, just be close to home. What would you say, like you've had encountered with a lot of students who either, have come from the Upper Cumberland or, are considering going to the Upper Cumberland, but they have, they want to stay, they don't know if they want to leave, let's say, their hometown in rural West Tennessee or rural East Tennessee, or et cetera.
We do get students, especially kind of out of East Tennessee, people who don't want to go to Knoxville. The city's too big. The university's too big. And so we're a nice alternative to that. Some people come here because it's just far enough away from home that mom and dad are going to have to call before they show up, right? So there is certainly a lot of folks who come from the Upper Cumberland. The primary reasons we have students who come here often is cost of living, the cost of the school. So we're pretty cost effective. Distance from their home. So a lot of them go home on weekends. And so we're in good shape from that standpoint. They like the small town. They like the small campus feel. They like a lot of what we have here from that standpoint. So those are positive things. When I'm trying to convince somebody who's maybe coming from a farther distance, I try to tell them, this is your opportunity to get away from your hometown and to grow, to see who you are, right? And I didn't take advantages of internships like I should have until I was really between my junior and senior year. My internship was in South Dakota. It was 13 hours from my mom and dad. It was really an outstanding opportunity. And it probably helped me secure my first job post-graduation. And so in that job, I happened to spend 3 months of the year in South America. I would never have gotten that job, in my opinion, without the background that I had, without the internship that I had, and the opportunity to go to 7 foreign countries as a 23-year-old kid who, you know, you got to network, you've got to get in, you've got to do the right things. And so that was because I was willing to leave my home state and go someplace else. And that the internship that I had in South Dakota, those people sell more bulls in the United States than anybody else. And so that was name recognition. And that's what I try to help the students do, is get those internships, get those experiences, get that networking that will help you secure that first job when you get out. So that's what I'm trying to help them to do, is understand I can get you those contacts. I can help you get where you want to go, but you have to come to Tech to do it. If you go to Martin, you're not my problem, right?
Right.
You come here, I'll make sure you're my problem. I'll make sure that I take you under my arm, and we're going to make sure you get the experiences that you need.
Right. Definitely. And does anyone else have any other questions? But certainly that is definitely a huge consideration, as we're trying to get more students, hopefully, to, come to Tech and join our wonderful programs outside of engineering, admittedly, because I know we there's just so much that are just like hidden or gems that people don't realize that we offer. So
yeah, and real quick, in fact, I just had this conversation last week. I had a student who he thinks he wants to do civil engineering, and so I talked to him about the engineering program, and he said, "Well, I also want to minor in agriculture." I said, "We can do that," and so we recruit for Tennessee Tech, not just School of Ag. I've had students come through, and once they tell me what they want to do, I said, you really need to be in zoology. You need to be in wildlife. That's where what you told me, you don't need to be in School of Ag. Yeah, we'd love to have you here, but that's where you're going to be more successful with your career path. So we routinely get in front of students who have a variety of interest. Certainly, we're trying to get people to come to School of Ag, but we're recruiting for human ecology, nursing, engineering, whoever it is, we want them to come to Tech.
Definitely. For sure. Definitely. We thank you for, everything you've done to help grow not only the program, but also, this school in general. So, and also, if for anyone who didn't know, Dr. Fennewald is also on our Grand Challenge committee as well. So he is very instrumental in helping us grow the Grand Challenge and grow Rural Reimagine. I would say, let me ask you this. What made you decide that you wanted to join the Grand Challenge Committee and help, start up and help bring Rural Reimagine to,
Well, Kester, sometimes you get voluntold.
Yeah.
So actually, I was on the committee that did the strategic plan several years ago. Out of that strategic plan, one of the things that we thought about was this Grand Challenge. And Jeremy was part of this discussion. And in fact, when we went over the strategic plan, it seemed like that part was being glossed over. And I said, wait a second, I thought this was really what was going to set us apart from the other universities in Tennessee. And I think I think it has to some extent, and certainly given a place for some of our students who maybe this is the club they want to be a part of, right? So the Grand Challenge then kind of morphed into this notion of Rural Reimagine, and this Rural Reimagine said, let's have a club. And Kester, I remember you coming to my office and we talked about ag for quite a while. Yes. And I was pretty excited when they had you be president of the club. I thought this guy's got some ambition. This would be really good. Yeah. So they continue to keep me on this committee, and it's why I'm part of this. Part of the reason, obviously, I enjoyed the vision that this group brings. I enjoy the excitement that this club can be a part of something, something bigger maybe than what some of their other clubs would offer to them. And so it's an opportunity to grow in a different way versus maybe some other clubs that they might have on campus. So I was voluntold early on. So I've been a part of this, I guess, for probably, I don't know, 5 years. So most of the time I've been here, it's been part of this strategic plan or part of this grand challenge.
Definitely. And definitely it is great. I do remember, coming to your office and which is why I just love being part of Rural Reimagined because, often, this is something that I'm, always studying with Dr. Blair, taking his art education class called STEAM Studio. How do we break those disciplinary barriers? Because I will admit, we engineers like to, keep in our box. And so what other, initiative would give me the opportunity to just reach out to an ag professor like you and go, could I just learn about, rural areas, just rural research from your standpoint? And it's been definitely just a great honor and great blessing to just learn from all, just learn outside of, my comfort zone and my, interest or specialties. So.
Well, sure. I appreciate you having me come and talk, and certainly from the standpoint that we've got everybody has to take the history and the English and the natural sciences, et cetera. And I think sometimes what's lost is while those things are wonderful, they're important. I wish that some students maybe would come over and learn about agriculture. I realize it's not a gen ed, but at the end of the day, we all eat and we all vote. And because of those things, that can impact, impacts rural areas significantly. And so the more informed people are, I think the better it is for everybody, right?
Right. That definitely is for sure. So definitely for those watching this, do consider taking an ag class. And I know I'm taking a class that literally doesn't count towards my major, my degree at all, but still I'm learning way more than some of my current engineering classes. So definitely the same applies to, agriculture classes or even just other classes in general. Just don't hesitate or don't, take that risk and stuff. So does anyone else have any questions for Dr. Fennewald? I think Austin Sanders from who's an ag major is actually in the audience. Or
I am,
right
yeah.
now, right?
Sorry, I joined a little late today, but I'm here with you guys.
Do you have any questions or do you have anything to share what Dr. Fennewald says, like about your experience, being in the School of Ag and now, interning for Seed Fork right now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cool opportunities. One of the benefits of being a smaller program is that, sorry, I'm at work right now. I don't know if you guys, can anybody hear me and see me?
Yes.
To some extent. One of the benefits, again, of small college is that there's more opportunities if you just, reach out and just are interested in something. So I've had a lot of fun with the SICE program. So the Creative Inquiry Summer Experience. So we actually, as an undergrad, you can be involved in the research that we do here at the Shipley farm. So I think that we got a real good program, and and it's there's clubs here. I actually, going back to, if we can get just more people to step out and learn about what ag is, I'm about to start a Seed Fork club that is going to try to give people hands-on service-based projects in the community for gardening and I guess it would fall under horticulture. That's my major. So I'm trying to get, bring more opportunity and bring some excitement in that sense too. We actually have a volunteer day coming out this weekend. So I might send something in the group me about you guys. But yeah, my experience with the program is that, there's a lot of opportunity just in terms of just research and stuff like that. So it's, yeah, if that helps. It's kind of long-winded. Sorry, guys. But yeah, it's a great program. I love it here, honestly. So there's a lot of cool, and back to there's some tech related stuff. We sequence, we're working with tomatoes and beans for Dr. Lecky's program, and his PhD students work on a lot of cool, like almost cross-disciplinary stuff. I guess there's some biology and gene sequencing and data science stuff involved with that. So yeah, there's a lot of cool opportunity here at Tech. A lot of cool stuff going on.
Oh, for sure. Thank you so much, Austin, for sharing. We're very glad to have you. And Austin and Rodney Lalo is going to be our final pair for our Rural Journey Speaker Series in April, which I'll need both of your bios and pictures soon. So I will email you again to hopefully get those, so that way we can get all the promo materials ready. But we're very excited, since I know Seed Fork does a lot of amazing things, and we do want to showcase both the student and the entrepreneur side of, of helping initiative like Seed Fork grow. So.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We're getting there. Yeah, we're getting there, getting up and running.
Oh, yes. So does anyone else have any questions for, Dr. Fennewald or Austin, or just anything they'd like to share about, their thoughts on what has been discussed today? Okay, alrighty. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Fennewald, and thank you, Austin, for also sharing a little bit.
Oh, hold on. I was on mute.
Oh, yes.
I was talking and not being heard as usual. Hey, my office also, Dr. Fennewald, is in Oakley Hall. And as you were speaking about South America, et cetera, it just seems like we could have more interdisciplinary action, cooperation between departments and colleges. And, I've already learned a lot from Dr. Blair. I never get to see people outside of my own department. And, I just wish people at Tech would, we're all way too busy, but I just wish people at Tech would interact more with each other. So it's great to be able to hear you talk about your discipline. You're so enthusiastic, and it just reminds me of how, everybody at Tech is passionate about what they do.
Oh, yes, for sure. And for those watching, Dr. McQuail is hosting a book club with rugby. That's held on Fridays at 6 o'clock. I know the past few weeks, 6:30 p.m. Central Time. Sorry. And I know I've been a bit busy and haven't been able to attend those, but I know that for any of those watching, please feel free to just contact us or contact Dr. McQuail if you're interested. I know she would love to have students, talk. And I think this Friday, Mira Johnson, a former TTU graduate and Fibers artist, Fibers artist.
And you posted the information, but it's actually been really fun. And I've found myself researching all this stuff about coverlets and weaving, and it's just amazing the artistry involved. So I'm really looking forward to hearing Mira, who's got a lot more expertise than I do in it. So please try to come. And after that, the last meeting is March 5th, and the author will actually be speaking. And also, Dr. Fennewald, you were talking about the sheep. You need to have sheep with hair, because that's what's used in the weaving. wool, I guess I should say. So anyway, it's been really stimulating listening today. I'm glad I tuned in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. McQuill, for sharing. And definitely that's why, Rural Reimagined is here. That's why I'm glad I'm part of Rural Reimagined. I'm sure everyone else here, the students are very glad, because it allows you to interact with people outside your major, just help promote that unity across campus. And definitely, I know that's something I want to see more in the College of Engineering, how we can get, interactions with agriculture, arts and sciences, or education, because those connections are much needed, especially when, everyone just knows everyone only knows the people within their same building and not really people outside. So that's definitely why I'm hopefully through, as we continue Rural Reimagine, we can see more of those cross-disciplinary partnerships and connections and collaborations be made all throughout this campus. Does anyone else have anything to add? So thank you again, Dr. Fennewald, for coming to speak. And thank you everyone else for sharing. And anyone else have anything else to add or say or anything?
One thing that just I was thinking is I think that coming into the university, I didn't understand, and I think a lot of students probably don't understand how much overlap there actually is between certain programs. Like I came in as a psychology major and now I'm a human ecology major. And part of it is that like I hadn't really looked into the information about human ecology because it's not really one of the more known programs like you were talking about. So I think that's actually a cool thing about our school is there is so much overlap, like interdisciplinary overlap. And so that's just something that I've actually enjoyed since changing my major. It's just seeing that like you don't have to box yourself into one thing. And I think that's a cool thing about this club too.
Definitely. And I know we also have, Sarah Rutledge is our master's student who's PTC, like technical communications and, working with all sorts of different groups. And our own Sarah Abdu is a graphic design major, designing images for all sorts of other groups as well. So definitely that's, as Sarah Brown said, we have a lot of Sarahs in this club. We have that a lot of overlap. So. We got thumbs up from Sarah Abdu, so awesome. Well, it's noon, so I'm going to call this meeting adjourned, unless anyone else would like to stay and say anything. But thank you all for coming to this meeting. Hopefully, for those who are not in attendance, we'll see you at our upcoming Rural Journey speaker series next Tuesday at 11 a.m. We are having Bruce Allen, the innovation. He is a Sparta native who went to Princeton for, his undergrad. He just graduated like this past year, came back and is now back in the Upper Cumberland serving as the innovation fellow, at Rockridge Venture Law, and also the executive director of B Tennessee. So he is trying to spur innovation and ethics into local businesses and entrepreneurial startups here in Tennessee. So definitely do hope that you come and visit him. He's a great person, and he's definitely very interested in finding ways how that, the law firm he works at not only just has outreach to all these different, states and places and big cities, but also has a huge presence in local Upper Cumberland. So we're very excited to have him. So please do come watch that. And our next Rural Reimagined Club meeting is, if I can pull up the date, it should be Tuesday, March 23rd. And we're going to have Miss Yolanda Neighbors from the Department of Economics speak to us about her research and her story and what all the amazing things she does as part of her broadband research and her economic impact analysis of Tennessee Tech. So we're very excited to have her on. So if you all have any other questions, just please let me know. But thank you all for coming to this meeting.